Hello there fellow model makers, and welcome back to the third and last part of a beginner's guide to your first scale model aircraft. This is where we left off our Academy 1/72nd scale F4U1 Corsair last time. All the pre-shading is done and we can get on with painting this kit. We will start off by mixing some white paint with water. And now we start painting the plane's belly. So here's my favorite technique of painting with an airbrush. I start with the center of the panels. Once these are painted, I spray on thin layers of the paint over the pre-shading. This helps me control the amount of pre-shading showing through. Just remember, when airbrushing, it's always better to go with multiple light layers rather than trying to paint on everything in one go. If you put too much paint on the kit, there is always the chance of flooding it with paint and that dirties up the paint job. Light layers ensure a smooth, even finish, and that is what we are trying to go for. With the white paint all done, we let it dry for about an hour or so. Right, time to start masking for the next paint layer. I start off by rolling out some blue tack into these long worms. Once the worms are rolled out, I then stick them to the kit. The horizontal stabilizers and elevators are masked off with masking tape. Before we start painting the next layer of light blue paint, I need to go back and redo the pre-shading which was lost to the first coat of paint. Often, you may find yourself without the color that you need. For example, we do not have a light blue color in our basic set of acrylics. So, I mix some white and blue for the required shade. As you get more experienced, you will be able to experiment a lot more with color mixing and arrive at the shade that you feel is right. With the color mixed, I start airbrushing it. Please note that I am brushing from top of the kit. I do this to prevent any paint from getting on the first white coat. If I was to brush from the side of the kit, the chances of spraying on the white paint would be much greater. Once the light blue color was dry, I masked the kit again and once again repainted the pre-shading gloss to the light blue paint. Next, I painted on the last dark blue color. The black pre-shading is showing through a lot more on camera than is visible to the eye. It must have something to do with the lights. Once the paint has dried, I remove the masking. It is now time to protect our work with some varnish. This here is the Tamiya X22 clear varnish. This is the Winsor & Newton gloss varnish. And this is Future or Pledge Floor Wax. Interestingly, this floor wax is preferred by many model makers since it gives a very smooth and glossy finish. Just what we need for the next step of our build, which is fixing the decals. I start off by cutting the decal and dipping it in lukewarm or room temperature water. Here's something you should know. The large markings on the sheet are called decals. The smaller ones are called stencils. I'm not sure about this, but I believe all the stencils, which usually have safety and maintenance instructions on them, were painted on the real aircraft in the factory. The individual squadron markings, aircraft identification number, pilot's name and so on were added on later by the maintenance crew of the squadron. Keep the decal in water till it comes loose from the carrier sheet. The time it takes for the decal to come loose varies from one decal sheet to another depending on the manufacturer and how old or new the sheet is. I slide the decal onto the kit and move it to the correct position. One product I have not been able to find a cheap substitute for are decal fixing and softening solutions. MarkFit is by Tamiya and is used as an adhesive for the decals. Mr. Mark Softer is used to soften the decals. However, the most popular brand of chemicals for fixing decals is Microset and Microsol. You won't get too far in scale modeling if you don't have these or a similar product. Next, I gently roll a Q-tip over the decal. I am removing all the liquid and air trapped under the decal. This is very important. Any air or liquid under the decal will cause problems later. Once in place, I apply some Microsol to the decal so that it melts and conforms to the surface even better. Please do not touch the decal after applying the softening solution to it. It will wrinkle and do funny things, but do not touch it. As it dries, it will even out and settle in. Once the decals set in, I give the kit another coat of varnish and set it aside to dry. It's time now to take care of the smaller parts that we had left off the kit so far. This includes the undercarriage assembly and the propeller amongst other things. All the parts are cut and cleaned. The landing gear needs some assembly. I stick all the smaller parts onto cocktail sticks and give them a coat of paint. The wheels are hand painted with a fine brush. It's time now to start weathering the aircraft, which means to add some wear and tear and battle scars to your kit. Now this is an optional step. You could decide to keep your aircraft factory fresh, which is sometimes called making a pristine model. Some model makers prefer to keep their aircraft like that, but I usually do add some wear and tear to the kit. I start by chipping the paint. There are several ways you can chip the paint on the kit, but this is the easiest of them. I take a fine tipped brush and aluminium paint and start applying it to edges and areas where the paint is likely to be chipped. These include panel line edges and areas near the cockpit where the pilot and the ground crew would have stepped on, as well as near moving surfaces like the rudder and elevators. We will now accentuate the panel lines and other detailing on the kit by giving it an oil wash. I take some brown and black oil paints and dilute them with some turpentine. As you may have guessed, this is not the first time I am using this plastic cup for mixing an oil wash. I take this wash and apply it all over the kit, except the cockpit. The wash is also applied to the smaller parts that are yet to be glued on. This is important as we want the entire kit to be uniformly weathered. I let the wash dry for about an hour. This is important because oil paints take a long time to dry, and if you wipe off the wash too soon, all of it will come off. But now that the wash has had some time to settle in, I take a paper towel and start wiping it off, always moving in the direction of the airflow. Once the oil wash has dried, I glue on all the smaller parts of the kit, like these landing gear covers. This kit is almost done, but there is one last thing that is left. The kit is a little too shiny from all the gloss varnish. We will dull down the paint by giving the kit a matte varnish coat. Once again, I will use my Winsor & Newton varnish for this. Please note, I have masked off the canopy as we don't want to fog it up. And here it is, friends. Our Academy 1/72nd scale F4U1 Corsair. I hope this video series proves helpful for those starting off with the hobby. And I hope I have been able to demonstrate that one can get fairly good results even when using generic products. Well, that's all for this video series. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you soon. Till then, good luck and happy modeling.